Before we get started, I would like to thank Tweaked Audio for helping sponsor this show. You listen to podcasts, obviously, so you know the value of a great pair of headphones. Get your own from Tweaked Audio by going to tweakedaudio.com and using the coupon code Southgate. With that code, you get 30% off on your order, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Order today and show your support to go fund this. Welcome back to Go Fund This, Season 2, first episode of Season 2, and we have a repeat guest. I've got Matthew Wolf with me. I don't know if you remember, we talked to him last time about Book 4 of his RONIN Saga, Tides of Fate. Well, it's only been a few months, and he's back with another Kickstarter, another awesome Kickstarter. Matthew, welcome back.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, why don't you tell people what this Kickstarter is for?
Gladly. Yeah, things have been kind of coming back to back to back. So I'm like, it's one of those things with books where you're like, okay, I haven't written for 2 years. You know, you won't get something for a year and a half, and then you'll just be like a deluge of things. So we released Book 4, Tides of Fate, about 2 months ago. As mentioned, it's the fourth book in a 9-book epic fantasy series, and this is for Bastion of Sun, which is the third book, audiobook. And so we've been releasing the audiobooks on Audible and iTunes and basically wherever you can listen to a book. And they're narrated by Tim Gerard Reynolds, the best in the business. And so
awesome.
That's the thing. That'll be it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So this is the third book in audiobook form. I just want to make sure it's clear for people so they understand what they're getting here, because the last time when we talked about Book 4 and we talked about what was happening in the world and everything. We don't really need to do that so much, as we know now. Mm-hmm. And we're going back to Book 3 for an audiobook version, which is so cool. And I assume you'll be back for a Book 4 audiobook version at some point.
Yeah, so we did a Book 2 audiobook version about 7 or 8 months ago, and it kind of took off. Didn't know how much. I knew people that were loving audiobooks there. I mean, after conventions kind of shut down, I can go into that later, but audiobooks have been kind of my bread and butter. They've been amazing. And
really? Okay, great.
Yeah, they've been phenomenal, which is part of the reason why I think it was so successful. But the other reason what we did is that for a lot of people, you can get your hardcovers and your paperbacks and all this stuff. This is a great way to get back into the saga. But yeah, so we'll be doing this is for the early edition. You get kind of an early release of listening to the book for before it releases on Audible.
Oh, so cool. So tell me, Matt, what are some of the levels that they can jump in on for this?
Gladly. So this one is going to be the same in a lot of ways, where you get your ebooks for a bundle price, better than you can get on your Amazon. You'll get your paperback set, which is now all 4 books. You'll get your hardcover set, which is all 4 books. These also include some novellas. So a lot of people, when I go to conventions, I have these little like 40 page novellas. And this will be great because you can get, so technically we're up to now 4 books plus the 3 novellas. You'll get 6.
Oh, wow.
7 copies. Yeah. My writing's good. My math is mediocre. And so, yeah, so you'll be able to get just a deluge of physical copies. But there's 2 things that are kind of unique to this Kickstarter. One is you'll be able to get book 1. So if you're just brand new into the series, I've been usually only doing as sets. But if you just want to get book 1 in paperback or hardcover form, that's a great way to get into it. And the other thing is that the kind of clamor, what makes this, unique, besides from getting it kind of early and being, a unique backer and having my eternal undying gratitude, is that we're going to be doing the Omni and the God level kind of backer tier rewards. And if you remember, the Omni level is you can get to be a living, breathing character in the world.
Right. That was such a cool perk last time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we're going to be doing the God tier. But this one, because, I think we mentioned one was the option for me to see you, and the other is for writing. And so I'm going to be doing that one again. And so if you have a story that's in your mind, and last time, and if it's anything, actually this time it's kind of more open. We had someone who backed last time and they wanted to do a video game. And so they're like, I love a story, but actually could we take the God tier and start, I have video game ideas and I'd love to, use some of the IP rights.
Sure.
So anyway, so there's
wow.
lots of little tiers.
Wow. So cool. Okay. So we've got those tiers out there, and I know just like last time, I'm sure you've got some stretch goals. Before we talk about the stretch goals, I realized I know what this is, and anyone that listened to the first episode know what this is, but why don't you kind of talk about the world that you've created here? Talk about the Ronin Saga, because that's something that, even though we talked about it last time, people may not know exactly what this is. It's really cool. I'm going to tell you that right now. I picked up book 1 as an audiobook and I loved it. So I'm definitely down with Bastion of the Sun being a cool Kickstarter. But why don't you tell people about the world of the Ronin Saga and where we're at in book 3?
Finally. So the series is, and it's a great question. So the series is really about, it's a high fantasy. So it's got dragons, magic, elves, all that good stuff. The story is really about these 3 friends. And while it's set in its own world, the world of Farhaven, world of magic and all these great things, Gray, Ava, and Darius are these 3 friends who don't have anything special about them. But as they kind of progress on in the story, early on we find out, not a big spoiler, that they are descended from these kind of legendary heroes that have these elemental powers. In this kind of age of legends, there were these people called the Ronin, and the Ronin of wind and water and fire and stone, even Ronin of flesh and metal. And each were kind of the guardians of their different respective cities. And the problem is that everyone feared them and they almost destroyed the world. So now the main character finds out he is the element of wind. He's the Ronin of wind, the leader. Ava is the Ronin of sun, and Darius is the Ronin of leaf. And so they're kind of this Harry Potter trio. Now they have to go to these different cities and reband their friends in these grand elementals. So in book 2, City of Fire, they have to go to the City of Fire with fire lighting up the night sky from these, magical rivers. Book 3, the City of Sun, sun shining off these mirrored columns and glassy spires. And they have to kind of stop this shadow and this threat that, but the twist of the story and the heart of the story is that the Ronin were believed to be evil. So wherever they go, they have to prove to the world that they're not going to be the dark legends of their predecessors.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Let me guess. At some point, one of them, not maybe of this trio, but one of these Ronins is not going to be the kind-hearted, warm fuzzy that, yeah. Okay.
That's a pretty good guess. Yeah. So
otherwise it's like, hey, we're all friends, and it becomes friendship is magic. Yeah.
Oh no, totally. I mean, it's going to be, that's the whole, there's so many twists in it. So one of the things is, of course, is that Gray is constantly tormented by the fact that, maybe the Ronin were evil. And so does he have these dark tendencies in him?
Right.
And also, and who were really the Ronin, how much was myth and how much was truth. And then along the way, as you mentioned, there's going to be the Ronin who may not be all the good, or who won't want to join them, or Ronin, and trying to, maybe this person is a Ronin, but they find out they aren't, and so it's kind of this treasure hunt. But all the while too, it's, in book 2, they go to the City of Fire and they have to find out that Gray's grandfather, who's a powerful arbiter, who's like a kind of wizard, is being tortured. And so in the second book, it's all about kind of saving him from the clutches of this kind of like this citadel, which is kind of this Reaver's home, kind of a Harry Potter, Hogwarts, if you may, but a little more sinister. And they have to go into the citadel and kind of free Gray's grandfather, and a crazy, battles on the sand, and creatures like darkwalkers made out of obsidian glass, and enigmatic women like Faye, who kind of steals the story. She comes into it. But now it's time in book 3 that they finally cemented that they are these 3, and they're finally really understood that, wait a second, This isn't just happenstance. We aren't just
Right.
magic wielders. We are these legendary, most powerful threaders in the world, which is, to be a magic user. And now they have to go to the City of Sun and hunt down the others and know that there's just kind of this plethora of perilous dangers await. And so so book 3 is about their journey of kind of really cementing that and knowing that it's not going to be as simple as it seems.
Yeah. Oh boy. It's so exciting. The first one was so good. Like I said, that's the only one I've had time to check out so far, but now you've just sold me on book 2. So I'm going to have to pick that up immediately. And I'm going to have to back this Kickstarter, I have a feeling, because I need all of this. It's really great, man. It's really great. Who would you say are your biggest inspirations?
Wheel of Time was one of my first real inspirations. It's a 13, 14 book series, as a lot of people.
Yeah, that's just a hack series, though. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Wheel of Time is amazing.
Yeah.
Did you like when it's his son that took over at the end, right?
It's actually his Brandon Sanderson is another author.
It's Brandon. That's right. That's who did it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was mixing up with Frank Herbert's son took over on the Dune stuff.
Oh, that's true. Dune.
And the Dune stuff his son is just as good. I mean, it's like amazing, I think.
I know. Yeah,
it's like, how did that happen? But yeah, it was Brandon Sanderson, who is, I mean, he's amazing also.
Yeah, he's a giant.
Yeah, so you obviously liked where Wheel of Time went with him at the.
I did. Yeah, I loved where that went. I mean, I started with Redwall and Brian Yacuz and The Hobbit and all that, but it wasn't really till Wheel of Time, and then and then Robert Jordan sadly passed away, and then Brandon Sanderson. I never read anything of him at the time because I was still, I think 19, 20. And, Elantris was the only thing that had kind of come out. But I love the ending of it. It's such an epic. It's hard to finish 14 books. I can't even imagine.
Well, especially when the guy who, even though he had his notes to work from, died.
Yeah. It's his story.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's not an easy task. And if you've read any other Sanderson, I mean, like the Mistborn series is just like astounding.
Yeah. In Stormlight Archives, he's blowing up. I love, as far as contemporaries, he's the one that I'm shooting for. I think a lot of people have kind of been like, I think Sanderson, I've read pretty much anything he writes. I've read.
Yeah.
there's I don't even like superhero stuff that much. And he wrote some one called like Firelight or Firefly or something, not Firefly, but something
Firefly.
Like that. Yeah.
And now everyone's mad that it's not back. And
exactly.
different guy.
I triggered. It's triggering.
Oh no! Great, you just crashed the whole podcast. Honestly, Matt, I think that you are on your way to being one of those, like a Brandon Sanderson, that people go like, oh yeah, this series did it for me. Yeah. I think I mentioned last time I was reading Terry Brooks, and Terry Brooks is one of those that I don't know how I didn't read these, but my God.
I know. You stumble upon it and
Yeah. And the thing is, I was more of a sci-fi guy, but this fantasy stuff is just, there's such a close tie, and I just love it so much. So yeah, your stuff is great. I'm really looking forward to Bastion of the Sun. I think this is exciting stuff. Yeah. Now, before we get to your stretch goals, I got one more question.
Okay.
I think we asked it on the last one. How close are we to book 5?
So we are about, normally I kind of like give vague answers and everything like that. We are 10% in on the rough draft.
Great.
First one, 100% done on outlining. I've never had a better so I will say this, if I can toot my own horn, I try humility, and people do say like, oh, it has a Sanderson like world and feel. It's every book is getting so much, obviously, as a writer, you progress and you grow. But there's just so much to this world that I've been pinning down and writing in notes since I was 18. So I feel like I finally get more pages to expand upon and to really kind of dive into that. And there's so many twists. So book 5 is about 10% in. It's looking at this rate. Well, I think I'm writing about 6 to 7 hours a day, and we're about 3,000 to 4,000 words a day. So I try to be pretty transparent with my whole writing process. It should be done in about 5 months with a rough draft. Sure. So it's definitely on the horizon. If you're 10% into the writing, we are
we are on our way.
We are crushing it. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it shows that you're taking your time a little bit, even though that's not necessarily taking your time. It is taking your time. You're making sure, if you're writing that much, it comes through in what I've seen so far, that you're really taking your time to not rush through things. Your world building is really, really cool. So all right, now the question. See, I kept everybody in suspense that whole time.
I know, up to the final.
What kind of stretch goals do we have?
This one's going to be one of my favorite stretch goals. We are actually doing, because I was like, what do people love more than anything on a Kickstarter? Aside from, free stuff, which is going to be a part of it too. The book and writing, a new writing. So aside from giving them book 5, I can't do that for free.
Right.
We just talked about where I'm at. We're there. We have a new story that I've kind of been writing. I kind of trunked for a little bit, and I love it. And it's about Ezra, who's a favorite character and is kind of enigmatic, Gray's grandfather, his only living family member. And now he is, it's a story about him and his origins, about being about 14, 15 years old, starting out as, now he's the most powerful wielder of magic in the whole world. But back then he was just a neophyte, and he was actually one of the weakest neophytes. So how did he go from being this kind of fledgling wizard into being the most powerful man? And so it's a really fun story, and it's one that's only going to be only for Kickstarter viewers until the next probably year or so. So if we finish it, then it's going to be not only a story that wouldn't probably not be published for quite a while, but you get your own version. So we'll have PDFs of that in the beginning, all the way up to paperbacks and hardcovers. And so it'll be about an 80 or 100-page story. Yeah.
Wow. So fans, there it is. You want to make this happen. So in other words, not only do you want to get on the Kickstarter, but you want to tell your friends to get in on the Kickstarter. You want to share it on your social media. This is something that I stress on every show. If you like one of these Kickstarters, whether you can donate or not, share it on your social media, tell your friends, tell your family, because there are people that are going to be into it. I was realizing after, you contacted me and said, hey, can we come back on? I was like, yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. I realized, since then I have gotten a whole bunch of followers that are into LARP. And I went, LARPers love fantasy. I got to make sure I take this and share it specifically with them, not just throw it on my social media, but like send notes to some of these LARPers and say like, hey, you might dig this, because that motivates people. They see it and they're like, oh, I love this stuff. Now they can help support it. So if you're a fan, think outside of the box and try to support Matt's new book, new project, new audiobook, new anything. And especially if they're getting a short story. Yeah, man.
A brand new short story. I love that. Yeah. Like you said, we've actually had people who have directly messaged from one to another, and I've had some of the biggest, coolest backers, fans for life, just because like, hey, my mom or my brother or my friend would love a series like this. So that's great.
Well, and Matthew is very available on social media too. He responds to things. So you can reach out and talk to the author as well. Where can they find you?
There's 2-3 ways that I like. Instagram is one of my main ones, because I'm, addicted to my phone probably more than I should be. Wolf_writer is my Instagram. Facebook.com/RONIN SAGA is Facebook, and I respond directly to messages there. You can also find me, of course, the RONIN SAGA at Gmail. But matt-wolf.com is a great way to kind of like, see the stories and see what other kind of things on the horizon. We also have a bar on where I am progressing on the books, so you can kind of harass me like, okay, cool. So
it's been sitting at 10% for a long time, Matthew. What's going on? Like, great. Why did I put that bar on this site?
I know. I'm going to regret it.
Well, that's fantastic. So I will make sure that's all in the show notes. I'll make sure a link to this. If you go to Kickstarter, you can look under Bastion of the Sun, the audiobook, or they can also look, according to you, go look up Matthew Wolf. He's the project creator on this, and you will find that Bastion of the Sun is there. It launches February 2nd.
Yeah, February 2nd.
Which is today. Tomorrow when we're recording it. Oh, you just lifted the veil.
Oh, I lied.
Come on. That's all right. From when we're recording, it's tomorrow. From when you hear this, it's today. And for the future, if you follow Matthew, when he has new projects, you can also get notified of launches of any Kickstarters, which he's going to have. I mean, yeah, you can hear him here because we'll have him back, but you can also find it that way. And we're also going to get him on my daughter Molly's show. She does a show called Read Between the Lines. She's getting everybody. Tor Books loves her.
That's so
Simon
cool.
and Schuster loves her. They just keep sending her everybody. I'm like, oh my God, you should see the books that keep arriving for her that they just like, can you read this? Would you suggest this person? We're like, oh my God, amazing people. You're going to join their ranks.
I would love to be a part of that. Yeah. Put me in that list.
We will. All right, Matthew, thank you again so much. Good luck with this. Everybody share it, support it, follow Matthew Wolf. This is a great project. And I'm telling you, these audiobooks, if this is as good as the first two, which I know it will be, that first one was amazing. I loved it. And I do audiobook voiceover. Trust me, I'm listening to what's good and what's bad. And this is exceptional. So,
I mean, you're the best, Rob. I can't wait. So yeah, any new fan, always reach out. I'm available, like you said. And I can't wait for you guys to dive into the world. You
know what? I've got one more thing before we go away. I am going to be sharing the video version of this. It's just a Zoom call, nothing too fancy. But I'm going to share the video version of this with Matthew. He can use it on his Kickstarter at some point as an update. So if you want to see this video, there you go. That's a way to do it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
All right. But you'll only be able to see that through Kickstarter. So there you go. All right.
Smart.
Thank you again, Matthew. Good luck with this. I can't wait to see where this goes.
Thank you, Rob, so much. My favorite interviewer.
I've put the link to the Kickstarter in the show notes, and we'll also have it on posts at our social media. Once again, sharing this project with your followers and friends is key, so please be an active participant and spread the word. While you're in the mood, please share this episode. That draws attention to this show, which we can always use. Oh, and please rate and review us. It only takes a few seconds and makes a huge impact on how many people see when we post a new episode. If you have a crowdfunding project, reach out to me at southgatemediagroup@gmail.com, on Twitter @rsouthgate, or on Facebook at Go Fund This Podcast. Tell me a little about the project or what you create, and I'll consider featuring it on the show. I would love to help you make your project a reality. Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, go fund this.